Okay, welcome back everyone. We are back to where we last left off, which was pulling together our pictures. As you can see, I have a number of pictures that I am working with, and I'm going to show you how I have subtracted them and extracted the environment. So that's what this video is going to be about, how to extract your subject matter from the environment, which is what most people want to do in Photoshop, simply because the tools are there for you. So let's get started. What I did want to do is I did want to import place embedded, and we talked about place embedded and place linked. Place embedded will embed the actual document. So I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to get the logo in of the organization. And so this is Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. So this is my logo that I've gotten off of the web. You can always go to your name of your organization and say logo and then go to images. And in most cases, they can give you really good quality. So they have some awards, other organizations that they're associated with. So I'm going to keep that. And so what we want to say when you do a place is you can either double click or you can click up here with the arrow. And that means I accept what I've just imported. And you'll notice when you do a place, you have a little bit of this icon right here on the layer, which basically says that it's not rasterized, it's a smart layer. And what that means is that if you didn't rasterize it, it means that if there was an update on this logo from maybe someone else who was revising this logo, when you re-imported it, it would swap it out to the revised one. So it's sort of what we call a smart object. But if you render it, it loses that link. So that's an important aspect. Again, let me repeat. When you use file, place, where's place? Place embedded or linked. This is importing a document, and we talked about it, how it actually forces the image to forces the image to fit into the place. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit more about, is how you have your images and how you bring them in. So this is going to, whatever image you have, whatever size the image is, as far as the height and the width, the quality is always the same, but it will take on the resolution of the existing file that you're importing it to. So in other words, if you have a file that is 300 dpi, but your poster is 150, your 300 coming into the poster will become a 150. So that's important to remember in regards to that. So now what we have is our logo. And so I did import it because I want it to fit within the image. But if you want to bring in your images, so as you have collected before, we're going to open it up. You're going to open up your sources. And these are my sources that I have. And you want to take them in one at a time. So let me get a couple of images here, my iceberg. So here's my iceberg, so I'm going to open that. And this iceberg is large. And as you can see, it's the original source because it has that locking. So that tells me that nothing has changed from the original source. I didn't change it. And for every image that you do, so I'm going to show you this example for all, and for this example, I'm going to show you the steps to make. But you do this for all of the images that you are importing into your layout. So that would be image size. And again, be sure that the sampling is turned off. Now my poster is 150, so I'm going to change that to 150. As you see, it sustains, or I should say it retains the quality of your image. So it's 150. And I say, okay. And then I mouse down if I want to keep it the size that it is. In other words, if I want to drag and drop it in to the size that it is, as far as height and width, not the resolution, the height and width, you can do that. You can mouse down and drag and drop, and now you have your poster in the back, and then you bring your move tool over, you take your move tool, and then you mouse down on your move tool and drag and drop. Now, this is a big iceberg, and then when you close out the iceberg, don't overwrite your original one, so just say no, so that you always keep the original source. Now, on here, let's do this again. So again, we're going to open up another image. One of the images that I want to bring into the file here. Let's see if this comes in. Open, yeah. Again, it's the original source. And I can double click that to get rid of that. So you're always bringing in the images into your composite, your sketch, and you've made the resolution to be new, 13 by 19, 150. It is print, CMYK. And remember, CMYK is for hard copy print materials. RGB is for everything that is electronic. That is web, screens, video screens, anything that's electric. But CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, is for print, and RGB is for red, green, and blue. So you would create your poster, 13 by 19 inches, as I said, keep it 150, so you don't have to worry about resolution too much. But if this was a real job for someone, for a professional client, you would always work in 300 DPI. 300 DPI you would always work in. So all the photos that you're going to be bringing into this composite needs to be the same resolution. So we can go image size, and we're going to change it to 150. So it actually gets bigger. You mouse down, drag it down, take your move tool, mouse down, and bring it in. And now I have the screen for that. And we don't want to overwrite the original one. So this is what you do for all of your images, is to remember image size. Remember to toggle this off, not on, because then you're distorting your image. So that's why it's important to remember, toggle this off, and then whatever you give it, it will adjust the size so it does not corrupt your resolution. The size will be relative to whatever you're scaling down, but the resolution will not be compromised, as we like to say. So that's what, so I've done that for all of these. And as you notice, I can, move up and down these layers here. So the bottom layer is the background and the top layer is here. And I actually made this layer because these are those rule of thirds. So again, remember to bring up the rulers. The rulers are on the top and the left. Under view, show rulers right here. Toggle that on. And when you mouse down, you can bring your grid. So if I did my grid here, there is the rule of thirds. And so that's why I just did that. So I know that these corners, the rule of thirds, are 3 rows horizontally and 3 rows vertically. So you can adjust it to make it be even, right? You can be accurate by the ruler, or you can kind of eyeball it. But the important part is that these are focal points, which always give good composition. And then again, you can get rid of your guides, clear the guides, or you can lock them, or you can save them, different things. So I've brought all these images in that I would like to have for my composite. And the important thing that we're going to do in this video is how to extract these objects so that I can use them as a digital illustration, a hyper-realist context, And this is what we do when we are reconstructing multiple photographs to composite into one digital illustration. So let's get started. So the first one is, let's start with some basic tools. So I'm going to zoom out, fit all on screen. And remember, your space bar will move things around. So if I'm zoomed in and I want to move around, space bar lets me move right to left of the canvas. So again, fit all on screen. And so what I need to do, because I'm going to take my polar bear, first thing, let's get that a little bit in position, because that's exactly the size that I want. And I want him to be flipped. So I'm going to, I highlight him, make sure he's highlighted, come up here to Edit, Transform, Horizontal, and Flip. That's what I want. So I want to keep these parameters of the ice. As you see, he's putting his feet down. I guess this is on it. But we'll come back to this one because what we need in order to do this, we need the channels. So this is very high detail and it's not the basic tools. So we'll get to that, but let's do the basic tools first. So fit on screen. And so what I need is I need my bridge, my Brooklyn Bridge. And I do have another Brooklyn Bridge, but this one is fine for now. I need to make that separate so that I can put an iceberg, which is this image. I can put this iceberg coming down the Hudson River. Now this is only a profile, so I'm going to have to warp this, but we'll come back to that as well. So let's just do some basic tools on how to extract. So I'm going to mouse down on my toolbar, and do remember when you're in your toolbar, you want to be sure that the things that you have to have open when you work in Photoshop is you must have your layers open, your channels and your paths should also follow suit when you launch your layers. And how do I get to my layers? Everything is always under window. So it's important to remember everything is under windows. Then your toolbar, be sure that you do the 3 dots and wait for the edit. And then be sure to, like I'm all loaded, just be sure to restore the defaults. And that will bring all of them, all the tools that exist onto your toolbar. Now you can customize this, but that's if you're only doing, using the same tool over and over again and you don't need the other tools. But this is a very good way to learn, is to have all the tools accessible to you so you can explore them. And a lot of them are very self-explanatory. Here's a tool that is widely used in Illustrator. It's a vector tool. All of these tools are bitmaps. And why do we call it a bitmap? Because we see the pixels. That is why we have bitmaps. So bitmaps are all pixels and vectors are points and lines. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into using the path tool, which is another vector tool. So to extract what we want, looking at this bridge, the best thing is going to be using the polygonal. So the polygonal is because it has a lot of angles. So I'm just going to quickly, when you extract, you don't want to get so close to your subject matter because you might have to take time to clean up that edge. So you see I'm on the outside and I'm not getting too close to the bridge. I'll come over here and come all the way up because I do want the lights. So you don't want, I'm working really fast, so I don't want to get too close. I'll clean that up another day. Right now, I just want to get the composite up so I can get it approved to go to the next phase, which is cleaning things up. basically. Because people might make a lot of changes. And if they make a lot of changes, then you may not need the detail that you need. So it's really just trying to get everything up to be cut out. Literally just cut out your subject matter for each photograph. That is what we're doing in this video today. So I need to get back onto the video. You see I'm still on the iceberg one. So I'm going to click that. And I often turn my eyeball on and off so I make sure that I'm on the right layer, because I make a lot of duplicates. And so this way it will be extracted. So at this point, what Photoshop does for you is that it can do a copy up here. So you go to Edit, Copy. Now that's in the clipboard. And then you go back to Edit, and then you go back to Place, Paste and Place. And it will put a layer right above the original source. So now I have exactly what I want. I want the bridge to be above the water so that when I bring in the iceberg, it's going to be under the bridge, not on top of the bridge. So that's why I did copy and paste that out. So now when I do the bear, my polar bear, let's zoom out, fit on screen. This tool is best to be used, which is a lasso, because the lasso tool gives you just organic. So I can just simply use my mouse or a stylus, and I want to get above it. I don't want to get so close because I'll have to clean it up with another tool. So I'm getting and you want to get it equal all the way around as best as you can. And I kind of want to keep that iceberg. And I'll come in, come out. Don't want to cut anything out. Don't want to lose the ear. Come down. And that's why we use a lasso tool, because it's an organic shape that you're cutting out. And so then here, if I hit delete, it will, and I'm on the wrong layer, as you can see here. I don't want to delete that. I want to come up to my polar bear one. So you always have to be careful with one it was, because I just deleted and I saw that I took away some things from the bridge. So it's always good sometimes to turn everything off. Then you don't have to worry about that. Now, if I hit delete, it's going to delete the polar bear because, as we call it, the marching ants has isolated the subject matter and you surrounded it. But what I really want is the background to disappear. So the way to do that is to come up here to select and inverse the marching ants. Now watch what happens when I click inverse. Now the marching ants are at the very edge of the page to this edge, and now when I hit delete, it does hit delete. Now I could have done copy and paste, but I already have a good backup. So I just wanted to show you that sometimes the important thing is to copy and paste in place, or sometimes you don't need that, and you can just delete the environment by doing inverse. So again, inverse is under select, and all it does is reverse the marching ants. So now I still have the marching ants. To get rid of the marching ants is always Control D. Always Control D to get rid of the marching ants. So let's do that. So the marching ants are gone. If I wanted to go back to the marching ants, like here's a layer, but I don't have the marching ants, you can get the marching ants back. And that can be a very important tool when you want to get the silhouette of the marching ants on, is you simply hover over the thumbnail, right? I'm over here on the layer, hover over the layer icon and hit Control. And you see, when I hit Control, you'll see the marching ants. And now the marching ants just snapped back to the shape. So if I wanted to make a drop shadow, that is what we like to do sometimes. We get the silhouette, we get the marching ants around the silhouette, and then we make another layer that might be dark for the shadow. It's the same image, shadows reflect whatever the image is. And so many times we need to have the marching ants where we want them to have. So that's the second way to extract. So there are many ways to extract. So let's take a look at even the iceberg right here. Here's another way to extract. The other way is to get the white space here to be extracted. So I could come up, the background, right? The background of the image. So one way is to come up here, what we call the magic wand, which has been around for quite some time. The beginning, I think it's really one of the first tools of Photoshop. So with the magic wand, this sky is relatively, again, I'm March D if you get the marching ants. This sky is relatively the same color. It gets a little dark around here, but we'll play that through. And let's also scale it. Let's get this down a little bit more. I don't need it to be this big in the picture. So again, I'm going to zoom out, and then to transform, to scale something is Edit. Free transform is Control T. You'll remember that quite quickly. Control T gives me the image, so Control T. There it is. You do not need the Shift key. So if you're taking Illustrator, you do need the Shift key. In Photoshop, they changed that up. You do not need the Shift key when you scale. If you use the Shift key, you will only distort it. So now I'm just scaling it down, and always scale at the corner. Do not scale in the middle. It's not as good, and it might distort if it had that. So I want to keep it a little big because I want to do a distortion. So I'm going to double click, but that's big enough for my iceberg that's coming in as I will bring it in. So now let's see another tool for extracting the background, which is what we're only focusing on here. This way it will help you to composite all your pictorial elements so that you get them organized, scaled, and in position, but all of the background is gone because you only want the subject matter. I don't want the water, I don't want the sky, I just want the iceberg. So the other one, the original tool, as we said, was Magic Wand. Now, Magic Wand is based upon what we say tolerance here. All tolerance are usually set for 32. So if I set it to 32 and I do point by example, there you can see the marching ants literally just snaps to the 32, but it snaps too much of that color. So I'm going to do Control D because I don't want that. So let me move this in a little bit. Let's get this so that we get all of the picture, and then I'll work on this side. Move this to the right with the magic wand. And you can, and a lot of, if you get those illustrations, those are very helpful. So 32 was too much, so I'm going to reduce it to 20. And now let's see what happens. So I have my tool, I change the tolerance to 20, I click it, much, much better. And then I can go Shift key down now to be able to pick up more. And then I come over here, and now you see it's nice and clean. And now I'll pick it up here, and that is exactly the clean image that I want. The marching ants are right where I want it to be, and I can simply hit delete. I'm on the layer, and I can hit delete. Control D. Good. So that is the proper tolerance for the magic wand. So again, I'll move this over here. Let's do that again. Quick back to the magic wand. Come over here, click that up, too much. Control D. Let's get it further down to 10. That is better. Shift key down, multiple selection. That's good. That's good. And now you see a little bit of some of the ambiguities that happen. So I'm just doing Shift key and getting everything right there. Now I could zoom in on this, and that is right on the layer. Pretty much, pretty much. Pretty good. So then I can, right here, nope. Well, that is a little bit of the iceberg, which is what I need to build. So I'm going to keep that. And then I hit delete. So that I have got rid of that. So again, fit all in window, Control D, get rid of marching ants. So now all I need to do is really get rid of the water. So let's see if my magic wand works. So what you do when you're in Photoshop is you see what tool works. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And so then if it doesn't work, then you jump to another tool. So this one, let's see if magic wand is the right tool for this. Back to the magic wand. And not too good. Now let's go back to 32 though. That was only 10. I could go more. Let's go to 50. So now we're doing the complete opposite. Still not really good. So it's not picking up everything. Let's do 90. And now you could do Shift key. That looks good. That could do that. But it really doesn't get all of it. And there'll be lots of leftover things that I don't see. So in actuality, this is perfect for the polygonal. So I'm going to go back to the polygonal and pick it up like this. Now this time I'm going to go a little close because I can see, and I'll go a little bit, not so close to the edge, but use it. And I can use my space bar, not to move it, as you can see. Come down, come around, back to here, wait for that circle to appear, and now I can hit delete. Good. And now I've got all of it. And then again, I move it over, back to the polygonal. And so you see, the magic wand was not as clean as I would like it to be. So that's why I'm kind of just working it right here and making it be just what I want it to be, which is here. And hit delete. So that's good. And so now I have my iceberg, and I can hit, don't forget to hit save, always important. So now if I turn on my bridge, you see I can begin to start constructing where I want my iceberg to come in. Now I'm going to kind of warp this iceberg so we can make the top of it so that it will be distorted. But we'll do distortions in the next video. Right now, this is really all about extractions. So that is, so these tools right here, and the quick select, I'll show you that when we get into the channels. That gives you accuracy of where you want the marching ants to be. So we'll come back to that. But right now, so this is these tools right here are very much the common tools. The lasso, the polygonal, and the magnetic really works nicely. So if you were going close, let me just show you quickly what magnetic does. You see there's a strong contrast here, right? So the magnetic, you can mouse down and literally just drag. And dragging it, it's snapping all that it can grab for you to, and then you can just hit escape, do this again. So it's literally, I'm mousing down and I'm dragging and it's snapping. And then I come up here to make the circle, let go. And if you don't make that circle, it kind of still sticks onto it. And then I hit delete. And you see now there is a little bit of a filtering going on, which could be a good thing, but right now I don't want that. That feathering is because up here I don't have it to 0. You probably have it to 0, but the last time I worked with this tool, I had the feather on. And now you saw what feather does. It softens the edge. So I'm going to take it down to 0. But I do have to build my marching ants again. It doesn't reset the marching ants. You have to build the marching ants again. So the magnetic tool, mouse down, and you literally drag where there is contrast. Only when there is contrast, this tool only works. It does not work if what you're cutting out is the same color and value as what your subject matter is. And now I can hit delete, and now that's a cleaner one, as you can see. So again, lasso goes to the contrast, grabbing all the contrast, bring it all the way, wait for that circle, close it, click, and then you can hit delete. So that is why we use the magnetic tool. So again, fit on screen, and Control D to get rid of those marching ants. And again, always save every 30 seconds. Very important. So the next tool for extraction is, which is what a lot of people use, is the quick mask. So you can see the details of this, right? This is a little bit like the polar bear hair, but I can kind of grab a lot of it because I can paint where the marching ants are going to go. And that's what the quick mask does. It literally paints a mask for you. And this is what we're doing. The marching ants is actually a mask. And a mask means you're isolating something to be able to have a different content within it. So watch what happens when we use a quick mask. So the quick mask is right down here. First of all, let me make sure I'm on the right layer. So I've selected my layer. The quick mask is down here. And it immediately turns the color toolbox right into black and white. So black, and look at my layer over here. It gives you a visual cue that your quick mask is on. It used to not do that, and it was often confusing, like, is my quick mask on or off? Because there's a slight color change here, but making the layer be red really gives us a visual cue to say your quick mask is on. So the quick mask uses, in most cases, you can use any tool that creates shapes, but we're going to use the brush because this is pretty free form. And we're going to use the soft edge because I'm not too sure about the hard edge yet. So it's not going to be too much of accuracy. I'll do that later for accuracy. Right now, I just want to get the gist of the object. So I'm going to paint it. And as you see it, there is the fuzzy part. And I don't really need the board. I just want the bones. So I'm going to go all the way around. And you notice I'm going beyond, I'm going outside the image because I don't want to clean up the details until everything is approved for the composition. When the composition is approved, then I go and I begin to clean up. So I'm just getting the bones. I'm not getting the apparatus that it's sitting on. And so now I can come down like this to get the bones. And I am literally painting the marching ants, which I'll show you in a second. So I have all that, which is good. Now I turn my brush to solid. And again, if you make a mistake, like I just did, just switch it up to white and it erases. Oops, not too much. I don't want to get too close. Oh, I got too close again. Control Z. Love that Control Z in digital media. Make a mistake, undo. Now I want it to be, whoops, I don't want to erase it. I want to bring it back to black. Now I am with a solid brush, and now I kind of go a little bit more to be sure that I'm, because of transparency, I want to be sure I get all the bones. So I'm making sure I get all the bones. The soft edge just kind of helps getting the cleanup of the edges. And I can do a hard brush again when I do the cleanup. Right now I'm just getting, whoops, don't want to get all of that. That's fine. So now I just painted that. And when you turn the quick mask off, there is the marching ants. So those are the multiple ways that you can use the tools to extract from your subject matter, from the environment or the background, like we call, for the object. So let's bring this out, fit on screen. Now you see it's surrounding the bones. Well, I don't want to delete this because I want the bones. So I have to delete the background. And what we do again is we go to reverse. But in actuality, if you look at it, my marching ants are on the outside. So Quick Mask knows that you are painting the subject matter. And so it knows that you don't want the background. So I don't have to do my inverse like I did with the other tool. It's already inverse for me. So I can just hit delete. And now the delete. And then I do my marching ants, Control D. So that is the other way to extract, is what we call the quick mask. And again, it's down here, and it turns your layer to be red when it is on. So I'll bring these bones into my polar bear. So right now this is the tail, so I should definitely flip it while I'm here. Transform, flip, horizontal. There we go. And now let's go to the polar bear. Okay. So now on the polar bear, to get these edges tighter, but I can work with just the composite. So let's do that right now. Let's get the composite to be a little bit assembled. So I want to get my bear located in the city. I will delete a lot of things. And I could put my bridge, as I have here, on it. You see, I could get it. Now I want to move these two things together. My bridge that is part of that. So I do want my composite and my bridge. I need them. I'm going to move them. And so I need to link them. Down here on the very bottom of your layers, you'll see like links. Link them. And now that means I'm moving both of them. I can move both of them. So when I turn on my bear, I can decide upon, well, where do I really want my feet? Right? Do I want it to be a little bit like this, where I can see that bridge? I really only need the bridge and the water, and I probably will have to subtract it. So I'm kind of liking this, but I'm going to have to fix this on the left. So if I don't have time, if I don't have any image to fix that, then I really have to move this somewhere. And I kind of want it to be on my iceberg, right? So I'll bring this up a little bit. And then, of course, I could do Control T, and I could rotate my bear so that he looks like he's going to land onto the road here. Where's my rule of thirds? So double click. You can always change that. Bring the rule of thirds up. Well, he's not really in the rule of thirds, so I could either get him down here or there. That gets it a little bit more, but then I would have to have a lot of information down there. Now, the rule of thirds is not a rule that you always have to follow. I could give him a focal point, which is right in the center. Don't want him so close because I want his head to really be part of the composition. So I think I'm going to bring him up around here. Let's turn that off. Yeah, I'm pretty good okay with that. So his focal point is going to be, without a doubt, his head. And now, again, Control C. Now this is the one that I did clean up. You see how I've gotten all that? And this is how I'll show you with the select tool how you can do more. But let me show you how I was able to get to this point. So let's go back and bring this one up, because this is the one that I want to use to show you how to extract the when you have a surface that has a lot of edges, like his hair is, that's complicated. You can't get in there and paint that. It would take you forever. So what we do is what we use the channels. So always duplicate, because you don't want to mess things up. Then turn it off. So I'm only working with this one layer. Everything else is turned off. And I come up here to channels. Now what channels does is it gives you the channels separately. And what you're trying to do here is, what channel is the most contrast? Well, this one is, without a doubt. So what you're going to do, and you could take notes on this so that you don't have to keep coming back to this video. I am going to duplicate this channel because this channel is the most contrast. And then I say, okay, and it throws it to the bottom. And so the point to be made is, you do not want to mess these channels up, because these channels are the channels for that layer, the colors. You don't want to mess the colors up, although you can if that's what you wanted to do. But for my purpose, I don't. I just need it to make a mask. So I've got my duplication, and here it is. Now I come over here to image, and I go to adjust levels. Now I can push that level. So here's my level box. I can make the bear go darker. So now you can see I'm really getting that hair to be very distinctly different with contrast, right? But I am getting some of the other things. So then you can push the white, and you see I'm getting a little bit too much of the other parts. So you have to be careful with that. So on here, I'm just going to keep it this color. And ultimately what I want is, I want this color to become black. But a lot of these colors also exist there. So I'm going to zoom in, say, okay. I'm going to zoom in and go, you know what? I don't really see, I see the hair, and I can kind of work around that. And I can kind of paint this out. So on here, this is when you can actually take your lasso again, and you can isolate this like this. So now that's isolated. And oh, I do have a feather again. Let me correct that. The feather was on. Let's go to 0. Now it's 0. Now it's going to be hard edge. So I can kind of get around and draw around a little bit of this hair. And then I can then turn this to white, because that's what you are trying to do. You're trying to make it be black and white. So then I have it colored here. So I've got my white in the foreground. Get my paint bucket. Here's my paint bucket, and just fill it. And in actuality, you can fill it like that, or let's go back. You can also, which I like to do, is come up here to edit. And let's see, is it going to give me the fill? No, it doesn't have fill, because we're in the channels. We're not, I'm going to do Control D. We're not in the layer. You see, I'm not in layers. I'm in channels. Channels doesn't really want you to fill. It wants you to paint. So now I can go back and use the brush tool like I did with the mask. And again, I could certainly make it soft so it doesn't look too hard edged like a cutout on my layers. So then I can go like this and kind of just be soft, because hair is soft. So now what I can do is I can paint all the other colors that are not going to be black. And again, the brackets, to make your brush to be big or small, is you can make it the size right there. And I'm going to go smaller and get close, then big. here. Clean this up, as you can see. And so now all of them, I can do that. And we'll come back to this tool because there's another tool to do. So you see, now I can erase all of this quite quickly. And the important part is that I've gotten this part. And again, we can get in there and just kind of get around it a little bit so that it feels that hair, which is what we're trying to do here. And still keep the, we still want to keep the iceberg. So we'll white that out. So that also will turn to black. And again, come down here and get this to be white. And I might have to do another pass on just that little iceberg. So I can come back to that, go back to my original source as I have here. Now fit in the window. Okay, good. Now I can go back to my image. Now this is different. Back to adjust, back to levels. And now instead of pushing the levels in here, go to the eyedropper and choose the black eyedropper and say, everything I want in this, I want to be black. So now you see, and again, sometimes it clicks there. And then on this one, I can say everything I click here, I want it to be white. So now you really get, I don't want to get too much. Let's cancel that. Yeah, let's go back again. Adjust to levels. Use the black eyedropper. There. And again, as much as I possibly can get to get that soft edge of the hair right there and say, okay. So that's what we call a mask. And the mask is widely used in special effects, motion design, visual effects, digital imaging, digital illustration. You're trying to isolate an area so that you can put something else in there. And for this, we want to extract the environment that surrounds the subject matter. So once we have that, what you do now in the channel window is turn on the marching ants. You can see it right here. It's a dotted circle. Turn on the marching ants. The marching ants are right now hovering around the white because you see it on the outside and snapping to the edge all the way through on here, as you can see. And now what we need is our picture back. So just click the top and it brings you back, and then you go back to your layers, and now you can hit delete. And so now I've got it much cleaned up so that I do have the hair that I need, which is right there, so that when I do turn on my background, I'm going to be able to see my hair. And then I can go in there again, and I certainly could use this eraser, bring it down, it's soft edge, and then I can kind of just come up here and get this, or I might do another pass as well. And so this is where we're going to be getting, he's supposed to be cold, so maybe the cold is still on him. And again, remember those brackets right next to your P will make your brush be smaller. And that's where we're going to be going into this. And again, you could isolate this right here using the channels again. And you can do a number of passes, but he's nice and clean over here. And so now I can clean this up. You may not see it in the video, but I can see it. And there's that soft edge right there that I like, so that it doesn't look like he was cut out in Photoshop. It looks like the real deal. Okay, so those are just a few tools for extraction. And again, and as you can see, I'm kind of losing a little bit of my iceberg, but I'm going to bring that back in on the next video. Okay, see you in the next turn.